2012. Not a famous year. But during that year, some silent shift happened that entirely shaped our culture today. This is smartphone adoption, and this is teen depression. Same year, same inflection. Depression among teenage girls up 145% in a decade. Boys, 161. And this is a federal survey data, which means millions of respondents. You've probably heard some version of it before. Phones bad, kids sad. Here's the part that I'm sure you haven't heard. This is how much time Americans in their 20s spend with friends in person. And this is people over 50. For the first time ever recorded, retirees have more of a social life than 20-year-olds. And that's not stat about phones. That's a stat about what it means to be young today. The generation with the most tools for connection today is the most alone in history. To be fair, not every researcher agrees on why. There is a real debate, but nobody argues about the direction. The question is, how did we get from I have a smartphone to I don't see my friends anymore, and who benefits from it? Okay, so think about this. Before all of this, if you had a rough day, you called someone, or you just showed up at their place. And they'd listen, badly probably, half distracted, making dinner at the same time, but they listened. It was messy and imperfect, and it was real. After 2012, you posted about it. And instead of one imperfect human, you got 30 likes. And that felt like something. It felt like people cared, but it wasn't the same thing. The platforms figured this out early. Every like, every notification, every comment, it triggers something inside your brain that is triggered when you get a reward from a real conversation. But in this specific case, it's thinner, faster, and it's wired so you want to come back and get more of it. So people didn't actually stop socializing. That's the thing. They simply substituted it. They swapped deep, slow, messy human connections with something faster, easier, and emptier. And the more you do of this easier thing, the harder the real thing becomes. Just think about it. When was the last time you just sat with someone silently and didn't want to reach for your phone? Exactly. And now, almost 15 years of that, our social muscles weakened. And nobody really noticed because everyone was doing it at the same time. And this is the gap. And it didn't stay empty for long. Because when there's a gap, it means there's money. Before AI companions ever existed, real people figured out how to fill this gap and charge for it. Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! I don't mean just the big platforms, I mean individuals. You've got millions of young guys, socially isolated, spending most of their time online, desperate for some kind of connection or direction. And an entire economy sprung up around them. Because the demand was so obvious that the supply showed up on its own. Twitch streamers figured out early that lonely guys will pay real money just for a slight moment of recognition. And then there's the other side, the guys who sell the solution, self-improvement influencers.
Hostel University is the greatest thing that exists on the face of the planet for people who are trying to escape the matrix.
And if you're interested in advanced courses on masculinity dating...
And look, I'm not saying that every creator is a scammer. Some of them generally help people, but the structure is the same everywhere. You find someone who is lonely or poor, offer him something that feels like a real connection or hope or belonging. And of course charge for it. And all of this, the disappearing friendships, the atrophy of the social life, leads to the same thing. It leads to people having no one who can simply sit and listen to them. And guess who is doing that for us today?
Hey there, how's your day going?
Hey, my day's going well. Thanks for asking. How about yours?
220 million downloads in 2 years. Average user spends 2 hours a day inside these things, and the growth is accelerating. And honestly, the logic is really hard to argue with. If you've spent the last 10 years getting connection through a screen and someone offers you a screen that actually listens to you, actually supports you, who is available even 3 a.m. in the morning and never argues with you or never judges you, why wouldn't you use it?
Glad to hear your day's going well. Mine's pretty good too. Thanks for asking. Anything exciting happening for you today?
Here's what that does to you. Every time you get closeness without an effort, the real thing becomes harder to justify. I mean, why deal with the hard thing when the easy one exists? Remember that, we'll get back to it. But the technology is just the first part of the problem. The second one is even more obvious. It's just money. In the year 2000, if you lived in the US, you could buy a house for about 4 times what you made in a year. Today, good luck. In places like London, you are looking at 13 years of your life just to own the front door. We talk about the delayed adulthood like it's a personal trait of Gen Z or millennials, but it's actually just a math problem. It's really hard to start a family if you don't have your own place. Look at the numbers. In Italy and in Greece, half of everyone under 35 is still sleeping in their childhood bed. In Korea, it's 80%. These aren't people finding themselves. These are people who had been priced out of the real world. So if you're 28 and you still live with your parents and real relationships feel like a luxury. What do you actually do? You go where the connection is free, or at least it's $15 for a pro subscription. And that business is worth $13 billion today. That's the surrogate intimacy economy. But just the part that we can actually count. The real number is, as always, probably bigger. And I want to talk you through it layer by layer. Because when I started pulling this apart, each layer was worse than the one before. Let's start with the dating apps, because it's actually the one that shocked me the most. Match Group. That's the company that owns Tinder, Hinge, Match, OkCupid. Made $3.5 billion last year. And here's the business problem nobody talks about. When the two people meet on Tinder and fall in love, Match Group loses to paying customers. Their entire business model depends on you not finding what you're looking for. Think about it for a second. The product is designed to solve a problem that, if it actually solved it, would destroy the company. And it shows in the numbers. Last year, total paying customer base went down 5%, but the revenue per customer went up 7%. So they're squeezing more money out of fewer, more desperate people. That's not a dating app. That's a real slot machine. I'm not just saying this as a metaphor. Tinder's co-founder admitted in a documentary that the swipe mechanic was inspired by B.F. Skinner, the psychologist who figured out how to make lab rats press a lever compulsively. Same variable reward schedule that makes gambling addictive. 2 years after launch, users were making 1 billion swipes a day. But here's the part that actually made me angry. The FTC sued Match Group and settled for $14 million last year. You know what they found? Between 2013 and 2016, more than half of the messages free users received came from accounts that Match had already flagged as fake. Scam accounts, bots, and Match knew it. They blocked these fake accounts from the people who were already paying. But they let the fakes message free users, because those fake messages got people to subscribe. So they were literally using loneliness as a sales funnel. Okay, let's go further to the next layer, to the OnlyFans. $7.2 billion last year. And I know what you're thinking, that's just pornography and it's always been making good money. But it's actually not. There's an AI tool called Super Creator that manages accounts for top creators. They analyzed the messages from the platform's bigger spenders. 78% of the messages aren't sexual. They're about pets, work stress, video games, small talk. The stuff you'd text a friend. Only 15% of the messages are actually sexual. The biggest spenders on OnlyFans are not buying content. They are buying the feeling that someone knows them. They are buying the connection. But as you probably already know, most of the top creators actually aren't replying to every message themselves. They hire people, mostly men, who understand the men's psychology and the feeling of that loneliness and know what exactly they should tell these lonely people or poor guys, so they are hooked by this interaction. But there's another side to the market. The side that doesn't sell the companionship, it sells the solution. Here's why you're broke or poor or, I don't know, lonely, and here's how to fix it. Take one example. There is a platform that charges $50 per month. At its peak, 200,000 subscribers, which is $10 million per month. And the way it grows is as old as an universe. It's a pyramid affiliate scheme. Members get affiliate commissions for recruiting more new members. So thousands of accounts clip the most inflammatory content, stuff designed to go viral, and flood TikTok and YouTube Shorts. The algorithm does the rest. A university in Dublin ran an experiment. They created fake accounts that looked like teenage boys and just watched what the algorithm recommended. After 2 minutes on YouTube Shorts, manosphere content started appearing. After 2 to 3 hours, 76% of the TikTok feed and 78% of YouTube Shorts were what the researchers classified as problematic or toxic. On accounts that signaled loneliness specifically, polarizing content went from 13% to 56% of the feed in 5 days. The algorithm found lonely and angry boys and sent them to people who monetize on their anger. And nobody programmed it to do that. It's just optimized to get more engagement. And in Japan, all of this left the internet years ago. There are cafes where you pay by the minute to be held. 1,000 yen, about $7, for 3 minutes of someone petting your head. There are maid cafes where the waitress greets you with "Welcome home, master," and 2 million people visit every year. There is a company called Family Romance that employs 1,200 actors who play your family members, your friends, your wedding guests. The founder has personally pretended to be a father to over 25 families. He stages entire weddings. guest ceremony, sometimes even the groom, for $33,000 each. And then there are host clubs, men whose job is to make women feel special through manufactured romantic attention, nightly texting, champagne rituals. Japan isn't weird. It's early. Everything that happens there in the physical world is happening everywhere else just through a screen. So we'll get there eventually. And here's the thing that connects all of it: the dating apps, the AI companions, and the OnlyFans. A researcher named Rick Peters tracked over 2,500 consumers for 6 years. He found that using purchases to cope with loneliness doesn't just fail to fix it. It makes the loneliness measurably worse over time. Not a little worse. Worse in a way that drives more spending. And it creates a feedback loop. In his words, it's salt water. Every sip feels like relief. Every sip makes you thirstier, and every one of these industries, all $13 billion, has a financial reason to keep you drinking. Everything I've talked about so far is still personal. Individual people, individual money, and individual feelings. Now I need to zoom out, because if millions and millions of people are stuck in the same loop at the same time, it creates a country-level problems. And what's happening on that level is genuinely terrifying. Okay, watch this. I want to show you something. Green means replacement level. 2.1 children per woman. That's the number where a population holds steady. Below that, the country starts shrinking. 1990, the world is mostly green. By 2000, Europe starts going yellow. By 2010, East Asia turns red. And today, look at it. More than half the world is below replacement. The global fertility rate went from 5 children per woman in 1960 to 2.25. And then there's South Korea, 0.72, 3 times below replacement. Seoul specifically, 0.58. That might be the lowest number any major city has ever recorded in history. And think about those numbers, they're not abstract. They mean something very concrete. Schools closing, villages emptying out, economies where there is no one to hire, no one to sell to, and nobody to pay for the current retirees. Remember this room? Now you have the full picture why it exists. In the Europe, there are 75 million single-person households, more than a third of all households. That number grew 17% in 90 years, faster than families, faster than couples, and faster than anything. And the housing market is literally splitting. Big apartments can't sell and the studios can't be built fast enough. And this shift in the number of the single households created an entirely new type of economy. A single person is an inefficient economic unit, like fundamentally inefficient. You need your own apartment, your own fridge, your own washing machine, your own Netflix, your own internet, your own everything. And singles are the only household type in America that spends more than it earns. Zillow actually ran the numbers. Living alone costs an average of $10,500 extra per year. And what did the market do? Exactly what market always does. It adapted. Food delivery portion for one. Streaming instead of the movies, so because you don't need a friend to watch Netflix. A fitness app instead of a real trainer. An online therapist, because there is no one left to talk to for free. Nobody planned this. No one sat in the room and said, okay, let's make loneliness profitable. The market just saw 100 million lonely people and simply optimized for them. And by making loneliness comfortable, they made it permanent. Japan needs 2.7 million care workers by 2040, and today they have only 2.1. That's a gap of 600,000 people that do not exist. For every elder care applicant right now, there are 4 open positions. In the US, 72% of nursing homes are operating below the staffing levels that they're legally required to have. What happens when the older generation outgrows the younger one? The pension system collapses. Think about it. In a healthy economy, young people are the R&D department of humanity. They start the companies, they take the risks, they build the new infrastructure. But in 1.2 to 1 world, instead of building the next world-changing technology, that worker is forced to spend their income and their time just keeping the previous generation afloat. If we don't change the math, here's what the managed decline looks like. First, you get the tax trap. Governments are forced to hike taxes on the few remaining workers to fund the mounting healthcare and pension bills of the many. But high taxes make it even harder for those young people to start families of their own. Next comes the innovation drought. Venture capital dries up because the market is no longer young people buying houses and gadgets. It's shrinking population focused on survival. Why build a new city when the existing ones are hollowing out? Finally, you reach the generational breaking point. You end up with a society where the elderly hold all the political power and the assets, while the young are treated as a literal resource to be mined. And this is the real problem. When one person is responsible for 80% of another person's life, there's simply no room for future. Korea and Japan are simply the early access version of this reality. And so the world has basically 2 ideas how to fix it. First is the immigration, but it creates a political backlash, and again, there are not enough people to cover all the holes, so somewhere people will still be missing. Or the second one, which is automation. But firstly, the AIs and robots aren't there yet, and the second, this makes people even less necessary to each other. You see it, right? The solutions to loneliness make loneliness even worse. 1 in 4 men reached 40 and have never been married. That's a record going back to when Census Bureau started keeping track, over 120 years ago. Some more numbers. 39% of men aged 25 to 54 are single right now. And the projections say that by 2050, 1 in 3 men will hit 45 without ever marrying. And here's what worries me about that. When a person feels like nobody needs them, they go looking for that feeling somewhere else. And usually they find that in some group of like-minded people. The 2024 election. Young men 18 to 29 went for Trump 56 to 44. That's the first time since 1988 that a majority of young men voted Republican. The gap between married and unmarried men, 14 points. And it's not just here. A study from last year, 9 countries, over 40,000 people, 25 separate tests, found that same pattern everywhere. Loneliness predicts support for populists' right-wing movement, and the strength of that effect is comparable to depression. And I want to be clear, nobody sits around there and thinks, I'm lonely, I'm gonna vote angry. But when someone loses their connection to the people around them, when they feel invisible, they go looking for something that says, I see you, you matter. And that's the opening. That's always been the opening for the radical movements. What's different now is that how many people are in that position right now at the same time. The algorithm took their face-to-face time. Social media gave the replacement that is thin enough to feel like a connection, but is empty enough to leave them wanting more. Then the economy priced them out of moving out before 30. The surrogate industry saw the problem and created a product that helped them fill that gap artificially. The government threw $300 billion at it and didn't move a needle. And what's funny is that every single step of that funnel, someone made money. So, is anyone actually doing anything? Slowly, but yeah. Japan created a Minister of Loneliness in 2021. In 2023, they officially said that the loneliness is a national level threat. Korea built a whole Ministry of Population. The US Surgeon General put on a national advisory. So governments are already seeing this. And they are saying it out loud. The loneliness is a problem. Look, the flywheel has been spinning for 20 years. And it's not gonna stop in the next year. Probably not in 10. But I think about the flywheels is that they only keep going when nobody touches them. And for the first time, somebody's reaching for it. Thank you for watching this video.